Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton, ADR, North Carolina, and of course, the wonderful MAAP community. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. We have a jam-packed program here tonight because we are going to hear from one of our regular contributors, Jan Jeremias, about different aromatherapies we can do with our pets. First, of course, I'm going to check in with everyone. Then Jan is going to give us some information about what she does and how it might help our pets. Because, of course, this community is about making sure that we care for our pets. Remember, MAAP stands for something. And today I was busy thinking about so much that happens with addressing the needs of your pet. That's why Jan's here telling us about aromatherapy. There's so much. I'm constantly reminded. I was swimming this morning and I was going through my head about everything that I need to tell people to do to prepare for the care of their pets if something were to happen to them. So before anything else, I'm going to check in with everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Sally, tell me a little bit about the girls. My texts have been very quiet, except that they've been sleeping. So how are the girls?
The girls are great. We've been talking to an animal rehabilitation friend. And so we're going to try a few more things in addition to all the things we're already trying just to better their lifestyle. But aromatherapy, that's one we hadn't thought of. So there's another one.
There are so many things out there that can really enhance the lives of our pets. So that's why the MAAP community gets together every Wednesday to make sure everyone's pets have an opportunity to do different things to make their lives full, right? What did Roger Karras say? Dogs are not our whole life, and cats. Dogs and cats are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole. So that's why we're all here every Wednesday night. Alexandra, how is everything today with you?
Awesome.
And with Wiggles.
Yes, she's great. I had to put her in her kennel because she's barking. But
that's okay. We allow barking here.
Yeah, well, she might disturb a little, but yes, it's going awesome. Thank you so much for having me again. So much fun learning from you.
Well, we're so grateful that you're here and that you're sharing the word. And I am catching up with my email. I actually, believe it or not, took today off and took yesterday off. Some of you might know that Judy was having reverse sneezes, really extraordinarily long reverse sneezes. Usually you hold their nose together and they stop reverse sneezing. And Junie was doing it for 2 to 3 minutes without any relief when you held his nose. So it got me a little concerned. He was very concerned. And so when he got concerned, I said, well, I guess I should get concerned. So we went to a vet, Dr. Joel Fisher in Raleigh yesterday. And I have to tell you that Dr. Fisher said he's a healthy guy. Just welcome to the South. The different flora and fauna here have made it a little more difficult for him to breathe in all of these new pollens and smells. And so he is going to have reverse sneezing. He gave me some antihistamines for him to take so that he feels better. And so far, so good. No reverse sneezing for the last 24 hours. So we're happy. Yay. Because those can be really disconcerting. It's when your dog sort of, and you really, can you catch your breath? And we in the dog show world always think, well, just to hold their nose together and it'll make them breathe through their mouth, which will help them stop doing that. However, when they don't stop doing it, I try not to panic. Panic is not my friend. We also had some sort of an animal bite, sting or something on Mariah's eye. So her eye blew up because we're having a lot of fun here in North Carolina. She's absolutely perfect now, a little Benadryl, and she was fine as rain. I did look for snake fangs, though, because there are snakes in the river. And she brought me a river rat. The river rat was no longer alive. However, he was, I guess about this big. He was a nice, healthy, fat rat. And I've never seen one. And I am pretty stoic, so I did not scream. I just said, well, just another wonderful lifetime experience in North Carolina, which I'm having many of them now. Her other co-owner, Susie Sullivan, asked if I had saved the rat so I could bring it to be tested. And I, of course, told her yes, However, I will share with this group, because she's never on here, that I did not save the rat. I threw him out. And that is why she is vaccinated, because whatever he had, she's already been vaccinated for. So she will be fine. And she seems, as she wrestles here with Junie, no worse the wear. So before I get to you, Jan, because I want to give you the floor, Susan, how are things with Maggie? And I have to tell you, there was just a whole program on how medications for pets make their lives better. And I'm going to try to find the link. It was either a friend of mine who told me about the program, or it was a program I watched, because we should never feel badly about helping our dogs live a calmer life, because it really does bring them to a place that's really, if you're anxious, they're anxious, and then everything escalates. And I'm sure Jan is going to talk about that with the aromatherapies. But how is Maggie doing on the trazodone?
That's what I was going to tell you. She seems like she's still pretty hyper. We give a half a pill every day, and it's only lasts for about 8 hours. So I'm really interested in hearing about the essential oils, because maybe we need to use both to really get Maggie. But I go back to what Connie said a couple of weeks ago about a health issue. And I really think because of Maggie's obesity, that's playing a role. Don't have a clarity about that yet, but I think I need to find a vet who's going to help me get to the bottom of this, because I don't want to see Maggie have a health problem. We do care about her and don't want to get rid of her, don't want her to, die young. And so Khotan should live to be at least 18. So 16 to 18 is kind of the lifespan expected.
So we have our work cut out for us to help her get there.
Yeah, definitely. She's got to lose about 5 pounds.
So has your vet given you some of the weight control chow that's out there? Because there's a lot of overweight dog chow for overweight dogs is a better way to put that, where they feel full, but it's not as high in calories, and you can get that from the vet. They also have canned food that is the same, that is low calorie, yet fills the dog up. Has your vet talked to you about that?
No, I'm a little bit disappointed with the vet that I have right now. And I do try to read up on different things online. And I've got a printout of 22 questions to ask your vet during a wellness visit. And, because of COVID, I think that's been the other thing. I'm not meeting my vet face to face. I'm not engaging really with the vet. And so I think that presents a huge problem.
I think you're 100% right. When I went to the vet yesterday, the vet I brought my dog to is a lovely vet, and I think he's very bright and intelligent, and that's why I drove 3 hours to get to him. However, he has taken full advantage of COVID's keeping people out of the practice, that he no longer lets anybody into the practice, and he creates his vet techs do double duty. They bring the dog in, they bring the dog out, they tell you what's going on. Sometimes he comes out if that's necessary, like he did come out and talk to me about Junie. However, it really does limit your ability to really have a long conversation. And maybe one evening we're going to talk about that so that we can help others who are listening to this really try to draw their vet back into the conversation, because I think a lot of vets do not have good people skills. And so this COVID limitation that was put in was a godsend for them, because they never have to speak to people again. And that really isn't the best thing for any of us.
No, it's not. It doesn't benefit the dog, but it lets them make better use of their time, I guess.
Right. I mean, their time is much better used by not having to deal with clients who come in with 12 questions. They really just want to, what is wrong? I'll look at it. I don't need any other information. However, it really leaves us a little left out of the loop. And it even though I really like this vet, I really felt as if, wow, I'm not seeing what he's doing to Junie, and that's giving me a little moment. I don't think he's hurting him, but I know all of us would rather be there while the vet is examining.
Right.
And, Sally still goes to the vet I was going to in New York. And I believe she's opened up her practice so that you can be in the room with the dog and the veterinarian, which I think is really good. So maybe next week, Rose, put it on the docket. Next week, I think we're going to talk about nutrition, but the week after, maybe we'll talk about our experiences with our vets, because I think everyone will benefit with knowing how each vet is handling it and how we might either ask our vet to handle it a different way if we really like them, or get used to it and have that anxiety lesson, or find a new vet. So that's something we'll handle here on the MAAP program. So Kieran, check in real quick, because Jan has a lot of information and I don't want to shortchange her on her time to educate us all. How's everything going?
Hi, Debbie. All good. All good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So we're going to all listen to Jan now. Jan, tell us what's up with your wonderful dog, and then Tonka, and then lead us right into all the wonderful information you're going to give us. I'd like to have an aromatherapy that would stop wrestling, but I digress. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and Jan, you've got the floor.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Debbie, especially for allowing me to share this information with you all. So I'll tell you, I've been using essential oils with pets for about 20 years. It was where I started my essential oil journey. I didn't start with myself. I started with my animals. I started with my dog at the time. I'm the co-author of the top-selling essential oil book for pets called Spoil Your Pet. Between my co-author, who is a veterinarian in New Jersey, and myself, we have probably about 30 years combined experience using essential oils with animals. So we have a lot we can share and a lot we chat about all the time. I'll tell you the 3 basic ways that you can use essential oils, and then maybe, we can even open it up for questions, because I think that might tell people more than me just rattling off a whole bunch of information. So let's just talk about safety. Essential oils, good quality essential oil is safe for pets. Now, I say good quality because there's a lot of poor quality essential oils and adulterated essential oils that aren't really true scents at all. They're actually chemically synthesized. They're actually perfume grade, which is usually considered very poor quality. So we're talking about essential oils that are very heavily tested for therapeutic effectiveness and for safety and pesticide contamination and all these other things that we, especially with pets, are very careful about. They have a different metabolic system than we do, so they process toxins and medications differently than we do. And so that is truly, really important. They're also usually smaller in body weight, which is also a factor to take into consideration. And so those 2 things really are probably the most relevant: their weight and their ability to process chemicals. They're also usually closer to the ground and closer to surfaces that might cause them to come into more contact with an essential oil. So that being said, though, I have used them safely for, like I said, 20 years. My co-author uses them in her practice, in her veterinary hospital, every single day of the year. So there's in every exam room, she has a diffuser. She diffuses, and I'll talk about diffusing in a moment. She diffuses during surgery. So, all the time. Diffusing is where you add an essential oil to a diffuser, an essential oil diffuser, which is a machine that breaks up the oil into really small pieces and dispenses it in the air. We recommend water-based diffusers versus nebulizer diffusers, because nebulizer diffusers put pure oil in the air and water diffusers create a mist, and that is dispensed into the air. I actually have mine set up right here just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but hopefully you will eventually. Yeah, there's like a slight steam thing. It's not heated. It's just going out through the top, a little mist. And that's a great way to introduce essential oils to your pets non-intrusively. So you're not asking them to let you apply anything. It's a great way to change the mood, create like For example, somebody like Susan to create calmness. It's also a great way of purifying the air. And also, if you have any animals that suffer from any specific issues, like there are studies out there about diffusing essential oils for pain management, things like that, which are actually human-based, hospital-based studies, but still can be applied for animals. The second way you can use essential oils actually by applying it to your hands and then petting them. The oils, the fur acts like a straw and actually sucks up the oil into the skin. So there's no reason to part the fur and get it on their skin. A good quality essential oil is going to be really easy to use. And if you use a really light carrier oil to dilute it, like I'm going to put an oil on my hand and you'll see it's maybe a little greasy there. If you rub it in really well, it's not going to stain your furniture. It's not going to get on things. And it's really, right now I'm using an essential oil on Tonka. He's doing really well. I didn't say he's doing great. He actually was super excited that the weather here got cool. Every toy came out of his basket yesterday and we had to play with every single one. But he also tested, come buddy, where are you? He also tested positive for anaplasmosis a few weeks ago. So we're doing antibiotics and we're doing some essential oils for discomfort, muscle, joint stuff. So I put the oil on my hands. I'm going to rub my hands together. He came over. I'm going to rub him. I avoid his eyes, his nose directly. I will do ear tips and then down the length of his body. Right, bud? If he has an area that's particular, now he's an oil dog. He's gotten oils his entire life. He does not get phased at all. He's actually coming over for more. And he's usually afterwards, he'll lick his chops. It's like he can taste it. So, but anywhere on the body could be used for muscle and joint stuff, digestive issues, anxiety, stress, separation anxiety, cellular health, itchiness. So there are multitudes of reasons you might want to use an essential oil. And then the last way, which I always tell people, you're using really high quality essential oils. There are essential oil enhanced supplements that I give him periodically, which are just essential oils and soft gels, which are already prepared. And I don't do that myself, even though in the past I had, but I don't usually do that. And those might have particular purposes. So there's one that's like a safe non-steroidal anti-inflammatory that I really like, which is good for joint pain and things like that. So he gets that sometimes, being 10 or 11, depending on how much he exercises and he hikes, or could be, something for calming. And I know you want to chill. And that's pretty much, in my book, we go through over 75 health concerns and how you can address those health concerns using essential oils in conjunction with traditional veterinary medicine. So I'm not going to tell anybody not to do traditional. That's really, they can work with their vet or they can talk to me, but I have used essential oils and had to decrease medication or been able to solve a problem without having to use traditional veterinary care. The best, everybody can agree. The worst thing is like when your dog gets sick at like 11 p.m. at night and unless you want to go to an ER vet for an emergency, but it's probably not an emergency. And you're like, I really wish I could hold off till tomorrow. Like that's when I love being able to have a toolbox of essential oils that I can grab and say, oh, okay, I can get through and call the vet in the morning or even leave a message and then be able to address some things on my own. So that's a little bit, and anybody feel free to ask any questions you'd like. If I don't know the answer, I can get you the information. And I also have a class tonight, actually at 7:30, which is mainly focused on cats because cats are a little different with essential oils. And I can pop the Eventbrite link in the chat. That's actually with my co-author. We're doing that tonight if anybody wants to join.
That'd be great. And I'd love to get a link to the book as well, so that if anybody wants to look at it or see it, that would be great. It's such a fascinating world. So I want to thank you for requiring everyone to make sure that what they use has been tested for safety and be very careful about adulterated things on the market, because that's really important. If you could provide Rose with some sort of a cheat sheet so she could add it to the notes of this community meeting, that would be great, because if we had the link to the book, And I apologize for the wrestling that's going on behind me and the knocking over of everything in my office, because why not? I need some essential oils right now to calm my dogs down. But anyway, so if you could do that, that would be great, because I think that everybody would like to know a little bit more. And if you have a book out there that they could read, that'd be great.
I also have I could pop a link. I'll send Rose a link. I have a free ebook, which is about a 6-page book on just basics.
Perfect.
Gives you some real basic information. And then if anybody really does want more information on dilutions and special circumstances, like, oils to avoid, under certain things like.
And also, yeah, absolutely. If they have seizures or you're traveling or,
Right.
someone's coming. I remember buying an essential oil diffuser from the vet because my son's cat was coming and it was going to be a new house. And the vet said, these work really, really well to acclimate the cats to a different environment. So I plugged it in to the room that Drew is going to be in with Jane. And she seemed to be absolutely fine in a totally different place to go. And actually flying home, she wasn't nervous either. It might have had extraordinary long-lasting effects because she was a mess flying to North Carolina. My son did very little to prepare her for the cat carrier for several hours and a car and a plane. And so it was quite a mess.
Well, I'm laughing behind you, first of all. And when you said that circumstances, how you would have loved to have essential oils. And that's part of what we talk about in the book is that, the way the book is designed is we describe every issue. So 75 health related topics. And then we go through precise directions on dilutions, amounts, how often, and the how-to section for dogs and cats, because that sometimes differs. And, the example I always use is like, if your animal gets bitten by a snake, you don't want to read about snake bites and what happens. You want to know what to do. So we wanted to keep it very clear as to like, okay, you can go back and read it later. But for now, this is the actions you should take. Like, somebody else is driving, then put on essential oils. If you're the only one there, then obviously don't waste time, like things, very practical information on how to help your pets on a daily basis.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, I really appreciate that, because that way the ebook can be, at least downloaded. We can have everyone who's on the community know about it, because I think that it's always good to make sure that you know about something that could create a really safe space for your pet in a given, event or crisis. We don't want you not to go to the vet, but absolutely we want to make sure that if you can calm your dog down going to the vet. I know that Sally would love to know about something she might give to Athena going to the vet, because Athena has an out-of-body experience going to the vet. So anything that might be, rubbed into her ears, or because I know that their ears are so important to everything else that they're inhaling. So that's fabulous. Does anyone have any questions for Jan? Because I really think this is an incredibly important topic. And I know,
for me, I just want to say, so for the MAAP plan, for my MAAP plan, I actually have essential oil directions, because that's, to me, a part of his
address the needs of the pet.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Part of his wellness routine.
Yeah.
But, I always say, like, for your son who was traveling and whatever, it's usually like that idea of smelling like home. So if I board him, essential oils go with him, because that's what I use at home. And, there are studies, especially in children, about how, the kids don't miss their parents as much. So I always think the same thing with dogs. Like, they don't miss me. He doesn't miss me as much because it still smells like me.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not there.
So I'm going to open it up. Please, everyone, ask questions if you have any. I have a ton, but I'm going to wait for everyone else to go first.
Jan, 2 quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
Are the oils plant-based or mineral-based primarily?
The oils are plant-based, either floral. Most of them are either floral, tree, some spices, but we very rarely use spice oils like clove or cinnamon in a pet. And that's partly because they create a very warming sensation when applied. And my co-author and I always have been very adamant as to making it a really positive experience. And if your pet has any sort of negative reaction, meaning that you apply it and then all of a sudden it starts to burn or be uncomfortable, you're never getting an essential oil on that pet again. And then it becomes a game. It's like, I want this oil on you. I'm going to chase you around the house. And then, then it's like, how much? So yeah, so they're all plant-based, Karen.
Right. And then the color, do they follow a color code in the energy frequencies?
I have a list of energy frequencies of all the oils. The top being rose, the going down and down, which has exact megahertz of each essential oil. And then the color coding, they're color coded basically, based on the plant. Like most of the tree oils, the labeling is green. But the plant oil itself depends on like what it is in nature. Like there's a beautiful essential oil, blue tansy, which is literally electric blue, and that has nothing to do with them adding in anything. When the plant material is steam distilled, which is where good essential oils come from, they don't use chemicals. The oil is actually electric blue from the natural chemicals. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. And I think, coming from my science geeky background, it's really cool.
And do you find that anything closer to the red spectrum is highly energetic, whereas anything to the blue and the violet is more calming? Or is that all a myth?
I don't know if you could, purple, if you go to the plant material, it's kind of hard to say because blue tansy is calming. I don't really use it in pets, but it is calming. And lavender, we all know, is in general calming, where the mints are usually energizing, spearmint, peppermint, usually energizing, and the florals are comforting. That's the way they describe, like rose, geranium, things like that are very comforting. So that's just, how I would describe it. And I don't really hesitate diffusing hotter, like spicier oils. I just won't apply them. I diffuse almost everything. And it's always clear to me since, through the years, I've had cats, dogs, both at the same time. And usually if I diffuse something that they don't like, everybody leaves. All of a sudden I look down and the room's empty. And I'm like, I guess that wasn't a good combination. It was like, it's always very funny. I'm like, okay. And then, I'll diffuse the combination and everybody will be zonked, like cats on cat towers collapsed and the dogs and I'm like, okay, yes, good one.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I once held a bottle of doTERRA lavender up to Maggie's nose, and I don't know if that was a mistake, but I wanted to see if she would, how she might respond to it. And maybe it was just too strong, because I know dogs' noses are a lot more sensitive. So,
I think in that way, if you look at it, it could be very impactful because they are so sensitive. But I think we do have to remember that I'm never a huge advocate of putting a bottle in front of a dog's nose. If they're so concentrated, a bottle of essential oil does not contain any diluting oil. So if it's lavender, it only has lavender in the bottle. It doesn't have any fatty oil that's going to dilute it or in strength or dilute it in smell. So that's really a lot for an animal to handle. And I almost feel like it's cruel. I'm like, it's probably sitting there going like, oh my gosh, like in my mind, if Karen was talking about what a dog would say from last week a little bit. And that's how I feel, like they're like, Mom, give me a break, so I don't.
She didn't like it. But I thought maybe it would help her calm down a little. And
yeah, but I wouldn't, to me, I was like, my co-author, Dr. Frezzo, and I are always like, it's medicine. Like, if you give them medication, then that's what they get, and I'm not like, Tonka's been an oil dog, but if you have to apply it, you apply it, and you don't kind of give them a choice, if they were taking a supplement or flea medication, it's good to give it to them, whether they like it or not. You know, I mean, he likes it, but he also likes the fact that usually he gets like a good rub down with it. So you have the whole idea of touch and, you know, the idea of massage gets in there. But I have like tricks to the trade. I mean, Tonka, I'm nobody in my house grazes. Everybody is time fed. And if his head's in the bowl, I can apply anything to the other half of the body. You know, his head's busy. I can go down the length of his back all the way to his butt. And it's like, you could care less what I do. So I would say, do it, like give rewards. Treats are a great idea. If, you know, you have an animal that's very very food oriented or treat oriented.
Yeah.
And then there are animals.
That would be Maggie, for sure.
Yeah. And then there are animals that really just don't like it. Like, you know, Mia has 3 standard poodles, and one of her female, just like, she takes out an oil bottle and her female goes flying out. She can diffuse anything, but I mean, she's very young. She's only 1.5 years. So it's not like she really, you know, there's some good maintenance oils, but it's not like has any illnesses or anything she's worried about. But the other 2 are males and they love them.
But you did say, Jan, that it should only be applied not to its nose, but to its ears. So in Maggie's case, maybe because it was right under her nose, she was like, no. However, Susan, if you maybe just put a little on the tips of her ears, or even, you know, down the middle of her back, that might diffuse in a way that really augments the trazodone, as opposed to because you know, it's sort of when I don't know how all of you feel, but when I put perfume on in the morning, which I do, all of my dogs sneeze their brains out for at least 5 minutes after I do it. And I don't spray it on them. I spray it on me, yet it's in the air and they're like, holy Toledo. So I think that if you put something under their nose, they're definitely going to say, excuse me, no, thank you. However, if you put it maybe at the tops of her ears, I loved how Tonka's ears were up and you were rubbing them, because that's pretty far from his nose. Now we have setters, or if you have dogs with ears that are down, like the poodles, you might want to make sure that you do it at the tops of their ears as opposed to the bottoms of their ears, which might be too close to their nose.
I mean, the other thing that happens is you want to avoid the eyes, because the eyes, it's going to burn. And so for dogs, we always say ear tips, unless you have a dog like that is like a hound or a basset hound, where the ears flop. And if they swing their head, their ears could kind of flap into their eyes. We always say just don't do the ears, you know, or do the ears really close to the head and not the ear tips, not inside the ear, but kind of like
just on top. So because then it definitely will travel to their nose, but it just will travel to their nose, but not by virtue of smacking them in the face.
Exactly. And then the length of their body. If you know anything about using essential oils in people, a lot of people apply essential oils is bottoms of the feet, because the skin's the toughest and the pores the largest. We don't usually apply to paw pads, and that's or paws, just because
they like it.
Well, in some ways that's good. You know, Mia uses some essential oils post-surgically. One is because they taste terrible. So it's a great way if you're trying to deter them from licking a wound, because they won't go near it. So in some ways it's good. But the other reason is because they go outside, and there is some information about oils. Actually, what they do is they detoxify the body and draw things in. And, you know, if they're walking on pavement or wet or pesticides, like the last thing you want is chemicals coming into their body. So we don't usually say paw pads or bottoms of the paws. Also, in general, I've never had a dog that likes its paws touched. I mean, Tonka can't stand when you touch his paws. So it was like, okay, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Susan, you have any other questions? Alexandra, Sally, Kieran?
Wanting to get that book, though, that you've written, because that sounds really practical.
Thank you. Well, it's available. It's available as an ebook. It's available as an app with a full book, and the app's available in Spanish and English, and then hard copy. And I'll send Rose the links And then if you have any questions, you can always, reach out to me. I have no problems with people ask me as many questions as they want. And then I loved the first topic we were talking about, which was vets. And that's part of what I talk to people about all day these days, because it just seems that, not only do people not get in to see vets as much, which they don't, is also this feeling of they can't get appointments.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had like 3 people who I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks who said they had to wait for like forever to get in to see a vet. So
it is a real question. So we'll take that up in 2 weeks, because I have to tell you, it's been a problem for a number of people. And the fact that you might be able to extend the comfort of your dog using essential oils while you're waiting for your vet, you really don't want to wait too long, because it just isn't something. And Jan put the link up. So everybody, hit that link now, because if you do, it'll come up on your thing and you can look at it after we all hang up. That's what I do, because otherwise I lose stuff. So I really want to make sure I never do that. So does anyone have any more questions? I loved your questions, Karen, because they were so on point with different things that could happen. I'm always thinking about the diffusing of different essential oils or different calming, because I could have done that. Use that tonight. However, now they're gone and running around the backyard, I can tell you. So they're letting out that steam now. However, it really is something I think that would make even older dogs feel so great. And I know you had spoken about that. There were times when you used essential oils and your Reiki to, relieve issues, not fix them, but relieve them. Oh, how about using peppermint oil for a tummy abscess? Does that work? Because that's what Rose put up.
I don't really encourage using peppermint. Peppermint's pretty strong for dogs and cats. The only time I think we recommend peppermint in the book is for heat stroke. To cool them down, because it's really good at lowering body temperature. But in general, we don't really. There are some blends that you can use that are ginger if you dilute it. There's some other fennel, things like that. I think I go to first. They're not as energizing, and that menthol, which is, so strong, not only to smell, but also is really strong in general, that we don't usually use much peppermint for people.
Well, that's really interesting, because of course everyone gives horses peppermints all the time. And I often wonder if that's a really strong treat to give a horse. My horse used to love them, and he never seemed to have any bad side effects. But I always thought, God, chewing on a peppermint must like really change the whole debate in his mouth with hay and grass. And then there's this peppermint. So I often wondered if that was different. But when you diffuse, is it a different oil than the one you would rub on your hands and put on, or is it the same oil?
Same oil. You're just going to dilute it when you apply it. And some oils, you can
dilute it to apply it. You mean on your hands or what?
On your hands first, and then usually on the pet. Okay. And usually when you're going to apply it, you would add some sort of fatty oil to dilute it. And that's diluting strength, but also you have to think, if you have a drop of peppermint or a drop of lavender, let's say, and you add a good half teaspoon of carrier oil, which is like coconut oil, or we use fractionated coconut oil, which is coconut oil that always stays liquid. Mm-hmm. Or fatty oil. And it's also light, so it doesn't stain. So if you add that and you apply that mixture to the animal, what happens is it slows the absorption rate into the skin, and it almost acts like a time release mechanism. So it has a longer lasting effect. Also, you get less evaporation, because an essential oil is so concentrated that a lot of it will evaporate when it's pure. It aerosolizes really quickly. So
And you did put up the event tonight as well, right? The one
that's the event tonight.
Perfect. And then you'll give Rose the link to
I'll give Rose the link to the book, to the ebook, and to the regular book, or I can give whatever we
that
want.
would be fine. This has been so fascinating to me. I'd love to wrap it up with everyone giving me your thoughts about what you learned tonight and how it might be best for your wonderful pets. I'm going to start with Wiggles. Hey, Alexandra, what do you think?
Great info. I'm actually super excited to try with Wiggle. I've never tried essential oils on her, and she, like I said, has a barking habit. Anyone that walks by, which I'm trying to combat with exercise and mental stimulation, and this might be a great thing to add to hopefully help her out. So thank you so much, and I'm super excited to take a look at the book and see all the different kinds and what they can do.
Oh, thank you.
Kieran, what about you?
And I used to think you were able to read lips.
I am, but no one else is, and they would really be mad at me. So I would be the only one who would understand what you were saying.
All right, I see. I found it, Jan. I found that very interesting tonight. I'll finish off with just a funny story, true story from many years ago, which was there was a dog groomer who was also a hairdresser in the town where I used to live, and she had a collie, and the collie had a white tail. But anytime you saw the collie on the street, it would be its tail would have been doused in fluorescent blue or red or green or whatever, and you'd see it a mile away. And sure enough, our hairdresser had exactly the same color for that week. And anytime anyone asked her, why she always matched her hair color with the dog, she said, "Oh, I'd never try anything that wasn't tested on animals first."
Very funny. Very funny. Better not let any animal rights people hear you say that, because animal testing. But of course, hair color is no big deal as long as it's on their teeth. So very funny. I love it. Susan, how about you?
Well, I kind of regret that I hadn't been using this with my other two dogs when, they had different medical procedures. My one dog had a leg amputated, and it did get infected because, we couldn't keep him away from licking it. And maybe there was a way with oils that could have, because you can't believe how much that required to treat. I had to think it was like 2 or 3 different visits with a different vet specialist to get rid of that infection. So maybe that would have been a way to prevent that. I don't know. So I'm very interested in learning more about how oils can be used because it's pretty benign, and if it makes things better,
why not?
I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sally, how about you?
Well, as you said, I have one dog who's terrified of going to the vet, who almost falls down trembling, getting in the car, getting out of the car, and walking into the vet's office. And then I have another dog who is terrified of thunderstorms and gunshots. So anything we can do to keep them calm. They're both 13. I'm definitely interested. So I'll look it up, and hopefully, we'll see what you have to say in the book.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to ask me personally, the book is great, but sometimes, hearing it and seeing it explained or demoed is much better. And I loved what Alexandra said to begin with, because let me tell you, I love oils, but I always say, Tonka's anxious, but there's no substitution for giving him as much exercise as I can and, doing everything else, because people think, oh, I'm going to use essential oils. And then they don't and they're great, but they're not miracles. I don't consider it miracle in a bottle, So I think you got to do your due diligence, and there's no substitution for a healthy diet. And, to me, my animal
exercise. Yep.
And exercise supplements, if you give them supplements, you got to do the basics.
Absolutely. So, Jan, I want to thank you so much. I love when my community shares their knowledge and information among each other. So, if anybody has anything they want to share, please just email me and I will make sure that your information gets out there because, we all can learn from what each of us have an expertise in. I mean, I'm the conflict person. So if you have a conflict, call me. I have to tell you that my phone is ringing off the hook and I'm on vacation. It's really not very fun. However, it's been a busy week. Until next week, I am so grateful to Jan for running the show tonight. It was fabulously informational. And if you need to do anything, Rose will also include Jan's contact info so that you can write her directly so she can help you with whatever trouble you have. Remember, we love all your pets. And until next time, kiss your babies for me. This is Deborah Hamilton, ADR, North Carolina. And until next week, say hello to your pets, kiss them for me, and join us next Wednesday, same time, same station.